If you are looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe, you've been drawn to the right place. And today, Nirmala, what's been on my mind is anxiety. I think it actually started from a conversation where a friend of mine said that her children weren't wanting to get their driver's license because they had a ton of anxiety and fear around getting in the car and driving. And I thought, wow, I'm 34, so it was not that long ago, maybe 20 years ago, that I was getting ready to get my license, and I was so excited. And I just think I kind of made me stop and pause, because anxiety seems to be prevalent in the world in ways that I don't feel that it used to be. I had a ton of anxiety after my car accident, and I had to move through that myself. And I see it in friends of mine, I see it in family members, to the point where it's like manifesting with issues, like they're having physical issues because they're in this state of anxiety all the time. And so I don't know, I thought it'd be fun today to shine some light on this topic and figure out from your perspective, how you see this and how we can work around it and what the geometry has to say about it.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for that, Danielle. Nice to come back to tune into the podcast again. Now, anxiety has been a huge topic for a very long time. It seems like anxiety is something that was not identified a long time ago. Okay. But now, since it's been identified, it shows, and we learn, and we are hearing that more anxiety is everywhere. So it has been existing for a very long time. So it's like a human, going through a coherence of something that's not part of them, but happening to somebody else, or something's happening around the world, something happening around in the environment or surrounding, everything's affecting them. So the meaning of anxiety is more about your heart racing in physical form. When you look at it, it's heart racing, fear. Yeah, having a fear, and and not able to do something that you are able to do, not able to move forward because you're being pulled back, and all these things physically in your physical body of consciousness and your mental body of consciousness in communication, creating a scenario in your body to listen to what is exactly happening right now. Yeah. So in brief, whenever I see someone who comes in and say that they always have panic attacks or anxiety attacks and all that, I like to go to the basic, where it started from. We all have our experiences from childhood. We would have done something or went through some experience in the childhood that we carry, nothing big, but we carry it because as a child, something very loud dropping on the floor is anxiousness. It's like, they go into a fear mode. You can see them running to the parents when they hear something, a loud crash or whatever. That could be just a simple thing as that they have been carrying, right? And then we bring it forward, and we just carry it throughout our life without understanding that we are feeling something from the environment. In fact, when you look at it, everybody's empowered. Something from the environment is kind of hitting your emotion and your energy that you cannot see. And then you're suddenly feeling anxiousness and you are not connecting to it. You're thinking something's wrong with you, and now you're feeling anxiousness. Yeah. Now, the human body and the human body and mind from birth to young adults are influenced by the environment and the behaviors of other humans. Yeah. So it's an introspection that we have a patterned life, resulting in autonomic obedience that in a hypnotic state that continues. Yeah. So we go into that and we learn from young time, from adult, or from childhood or from adulthood, that okay, this is what happens and this is what we do. All right. So this is normal. So we are hypnotized. Yeah. How many families in different cultures, when there's a loud noise, parents are arguing or they're screaming at each other, they can still sit quietly and do their homework or watch a TV. Normal. That's normal. That's normal. I've been hypnotized. That noise is normal. Yeah. So if we just move forward with that, and then our children, then we have our children, and then they went and witnessed something like that, and they go turning around, what's happening here? Why are these two people fighting? But whereas everybody else is sitting in a conditioned space. Yeah. So as generation changes, our method changes as well. But yeah, I still remember sending my son back home to Singapore once, and he called me. He was very young. He was a teenage boy, and when he called me, he said, "There's something happening here. They're, I think they're fighting. Since the morning they've been very loud." And I was trying to listen into the conversation, and I said, "No, they're just talking." This is their conversation. So this is how they talk. Don't worry about it. And he was a bit confused. He still talked about it when he came back home. At that time I was in Perth. He still spoke about it, but it's interesting how as the generation changes, everything changes, conception changes, perception changes, everything changes, right? And he still can't register it. He said, but they were so loud. You only get loud when you are angry or you're fighting. I said, no. Certain cultures, that's how they talk. So accept it. That's how it's going to be. Well, that's just to add into what we're talking about with the hypnotic state, right? So going back to the subject, vigorous repetition of behavior, programming the mind to accept a limiting belief, which is embodied in a closed circuit. I like to use the word, it's a closed circuit. And over time, this repeated cycle of pattern that's passed from generation to the next, as people accept the reality without critically thinking and not realizing the environment in which they exist control the limiting beliefs and the ability to act under their own sovereign self. Yeah, so that means it's a training. There's already an entrainment that's already in you that you need to now move out of it and step out of it and start thinking logically. Yeah, so going back to the anxiety, so these are the things that I look at when I'm working with someone, because the anxious level, I do that to myself as well after my accident. My anxiety, in certain organizations, certain period of time, they call, the anxiousness goes, and I'm thinking, why on earth do I feel like that when that organization got nothing to do, but all they're doing is their job, and yet I feel that. Yeah, probably it's bringing me to the pattern when the accident has happened. Something that I'm trying to acknowledge has happened, but I'm okay, but it brings me back to that space again, and immediately the trigger starts. Yeah, so whatever practice pattern that we have in conscious mind just records to the subconscious mind, just takes it, beautiful work it does, register. It's like a big office. File this in, put it into that, take it out when it's relevant. So all been filed in the subconscious mind. Yeah. And then for no reason, you be just walking, having a nice stroll of walk in the park, and suddenly something will happen in front of you, got nothing to do with you, and then the file will drop. One of the file will just drop, and then you start feeling anxiousness when you're in a beautiful nature, looking at blue skies and everything's so beautiful, and there something triggers. And that's a reason anxiety is something that you need to acknowledge, right? Daniel, you got a question for me?
No, well, I was just thinking, is there always a trigger? And is that how you get to is that how you undo it? Like for myself, my anxiety it would be triggered when I didn't have control. So I went to psychotherapy at the time, and he did a method called EMDR. I forget what it stands for, like eye movement desensitization, something.
Oh, yeah.
And it was such a fascinating experience because it was like he got into my mind in a way that all these dots got connected, and the root of it was a lack of control. And once my brain realized that, oh, there's just some scenarios where you won't have control, or like that was why you feel anxious and you just need to accept that there isn't control in that situation, it all resolved. Like it was literally one session with him, and the anxiety that I felt in a car and when situations would usually have triggered me into panic attacks, it was just gone. And it was like, oh, well, we got to the root of the trigger of it. And so I never thought about anxiety in other people when I've observed it. It seems like it's chronically there. Like I have some friends that are in such an anxious state. I mean, they're hunched over. Like some of them have put on weight. I've watched, like I said, these physical manifestations of things on their skin that I know is because they're in this anxious state all the time. It seems to me like it's like there's this chronic anxiety, And then there's this, from a trigger, we get fearful or we get anxious, like what I've experienced.
Yeah, again, the brain does play a part by, it's like an elasticity that enables to attract or repel human intelligence. So there you go into a false statement that something is definitely, something must have happened in your life, which is true. But there are some other things that's happening around you. You include that into, and then you make it bigger and bigger. So the brain is a beautiful tool, and it takes it, and then it says that, okay, now adrenaline. All right, push more of this, so that, because that's the message you're giving to the brain at the same time. So to come into the topic, that what I do best is when I see individual, is like I have to understand the personality of them, because the geometry of their personality tells me what of the other geometries is not incoming, is not concluding, or why is not coming into that aspect. So that would take me to see whether am I supposed to go that way or go this way with them. Yeah. So I play along with what is happening in their life, because the most important thing is listening to them while I'm in communication with their geometry. So when I'm doing that, the personality is the biggest trigger. Yeah. Most of the time they are kind of in here like this. All right. This is also a geometry. I very well communicate with this one as well. This geometry usually comes in. I know that you're looking at it as if it's a cross line, but if you really look at yourself and you spread up your arms and you stand straight, this is you. All right. This is you. All right. So which part of you is now resonating with you? So when you are standing in that space, I always tell them, just put a circle and just stand like that for a second. Be within the circle. Find the balance within you. So what are they trying to find? They're trying to find the balance, which way they're going to go. Most of the time, simple. This is where it is. This is where they're standing. The experience they have to cross the intersection for a new experience, right? So now they have to cross the intersection here to get their new experience, whichever the path they're going to take. All right. They have lost the control of their path, or they're kind of confused with their path. All right. So that makes them anxious. We can see in small scenarios like changing jobs or shifting or stuck to the same job for the rest of their life. It's a huge depression, huge anxiety that we deal with, isn't it? Going to the same job, doing the same thing again and again, seeing the same people, even if you don't like them, you have to say hi to them. It's like you're losing control of yourself. You don't have any control over what you like and what you don't like. You have to face this all the time. Yeah. And then in relationship, we see that, right? Crossing path, what do I do? What do I do? It's like where I'm going with this experience, it is, I'm standing in an intersection, but I know no matter how I try to pull that, I'm being drawn to this side again all the time. It's because of that specific relationship I'm holding. The cross comes as a very beautiful geometry example that I can give everyone. And the cross, the way that I see it, is with specific personality geometries will be attached to them depending on the individual that I see. So when I see that, I know in personality and character where they are going, and what they are trying to resolve is trying to be in somebody else's space, but trying to get an outcome in their space. Never going to happen. When you do it that way, it's never going to happen, right? You have to step into your own space to understand what you really want. Yeah. The intention that connects to the silver cord passes the information to the silver thread, horizontally to vertically, to transcend and create a new experience. All right. So the silver cord is up here. Right. So the silver cord, okay, let's say this is the universe. Yes. This is the universe, and there's a silver cord that's coming from here. All right. And that silver cord looks beautiful. My drawing is ugly. I know that. That silver cord is now coming here. All right. So the silver cord is waiting. This is the universal cord. And then you have, as an individual, all right, you have your own silver cord that's now asking for attachment. Now, all waiting to flow in that path that you're going to take. The minute the path you choose is going to be attached with the universal cord, and you're going to have a decision made, right? But just to make that decision, you are going to be now stumbling where to go, what to do, how to do it. Yeah. And sometimes it's loneliness. Okay. Anxiety is also caused by loneliness because you got no one to speak to or to talk to, or you feel like you can't communicate with people that you in the level that you want to be communicate. So in the sense, like some people will look at somebody and say that this is a very beautiful person, he's very popular, and I want to be part of that. And they cannot go into that interaction because they find that they are, on the low end, or they think that they're on a high end, they don't want to be in the low end. Again, the ego steps in. Whenever I see that this intersection, there's always a lot of ego in space, that self-discrimination, and then self-hierarchy, a lot of questions going in their mind, right? So the gates of the four directions, there's four directions, there's always options in whatever you're thinking or whatever you're trying to do, right? So let's basically go into someone who is kind of, I'm just trying to look for a person that I could think of that might, that I could think of a case study. All right, so this individual, these are couples, but I'm just one separate one. So the individual coming in, he gets panic attack, he gets anxiety whenever he sees when the wife says that I'm inviting friends to the house. Right? He says that I don't know why I get very anxious. I just don't like. So because of that, they go into arguments because the wife is very socializing. She likes people in the house. She likes to get out. She wants to see people. Whereas he's very isolated. He wants to be in a space where, I'm happy where I am. I have my children. I've got my wife. I'm very content. This is where I want to be. There's nothing wrong about it. It's fine. Yeah. But when he says that when somebody comes into the house, if you're very content where you are, when somebody enters your space, why are you feeling anxious is where my question went. There's nothing wrong about how he's feeling, but his anxiety has got in relation to that. So he says he doesn't understand why. He says he doesn't know why. So when he came into the session, there's a few things that I worked with him. And I find that he had this geometry where he is very much in a space of a hexahedron. Okay, very much in a space of a square. Simply, it's a square, right? A hexahedron that has got, the phases of it. So when I look at it, people like this personality of a geometry always shows me that the person is always grounded. That means they are very comfortable where they are. They're very grounded people, right? But that doesn't mean they wouldn't socialize. They're very grounded. And they're very fantastic in learning about others because they're very knowledgeable, they're very intelligent, and they're very grounded at the same time. They're very much, how would I say, content. You don't have to work too hard with this kind of people. They're very pleased with whatever you do. You call them and you give them a cup of tea, they're very delighted. So I saw that personality. Now, at the same time, within that, when I see a geometry as that, there's always in and out. So we are very grounded. Sometimes you can also go into an hiding. That means I don't want to see this world. I don't want to be any part of it, until the day I die. I just want to be with my family. My children just go through the process and do everything and then I'm done. I don't want too much or too few. I don't want any of those things. But what he's not understanding, especially this particular person, is that he's got two children. They might become him, they might not. And then there's going to be a huge conflict if that happens, right? Because now he has to think of the children and think of himself as well. So then I went a bit deeper into what was happening in his pathways. That's where I found out that he came from a space where when the bell goes, the mom always have a tiny bell when she does that. I don't have a bell here. I know I got a bell somewhere, but when you hear the ring of that bell, that means it's lunchtime. Everybody comes out of the room, have their lunch. Yeah. So they have their lunch, very quiet. very much in a discipline aspect. That means when you're eating, no talking. All right, no TV in front, no talking. So he came from more of a very much in I don't know what environment to call that, but very much in a disciplined space where this is how things has to be. Yeah. So he says that he's got a brother and a sister that they hardly talk to each other. Not that they are against each other, they like each other. And he also another thing he brought up to me is that, I hope he's not listening to this podcast, but another thing he brought up to in this podcast, I'm sorry, in during my session was that he has hugged his sister before, but he's never hugged his brother. Right? So you can see so the certain aspect of it has been already grown into him. Man, this is how it's supposed to be. We don't hug, we don't. But he hugged his sister, but his older brother doesn't hug his sister either. Right? So when they come in contact after many years, what's the first thing you do? You hug, but you don't hug. So they acknowledge each other and they smile, they talk about what's happening in life, and that's about it. They go. And very much he says that he doesn't even know what's happening in their life. I know they've got good jobs, they're doing this and doing that, and that's about it in very surface level. So that is his upbringing. So there you go. So if I go into his past, it's like there's nothing wrong with it. That's how the parents concluded that they're going to bring up children, and that's how they brought their children, because that's how these parents were brought up in England. Okay, so they're coming from UK, so this is how they were brought up. So that's how he is, and so because of this situation, how is this associated with somebody coming to your house? I mean, of course, the parents would have had people coming to your house, and but how is that associated? The personality of him, when I see this, is that he cannot open, or he cannot unfold that you can have different people in your life. You get me? So it means he already concluded that you only can talk to people of that range, that type, and that's about it. You cannot have people outside that space that they've created. So it's very subjective about who you can talk to. If you go to the children's school, you only talk to the principal and the teacher. I don't have to talk to the parents. So you can see there's so many layers in that. Whereas his wife, if you see her, and she's like, she go to a shopping place, just for enter the shopping center. There's no way she's going to come out without talking to this party. All right. She engaged herself. She talks about all these things. Now, so when he sees somebody else entering his home, coming to his house, what happens is that, first of all, he doesn't know how to pretend. This is what he said. He said he doesn't know how to pretend and smile, that he's accepting them into their house. So there's a huge control that's happening in him. Yeah? He's completely going into the space of control that, is that this is how he is. And, so somebody's coming to your house, you would shake hands, or you hug them, or you say hello and you bring them. And the first thing he does is find a chair where he's going to sit, which is going to be in the corner. And all he does is nodding his head. That's how the wife has told him, just nod your head, my friends. So they come in, they try to have a conversation with him. Everything they ask, he try to say, but it's in one sentence, and he doesn't know how to finish it. He says it's so much of effort I have to put, and it makes me so anxious. I don't know why my wife is not understanding that. Right, and that's how he likes to keep things. Yeah, and he's, as I said, he's very intelligent. He likes to work within his space, and within sitting at the dining table for about 15 minutes max, he gets up. He says that I've got a phone call to make. I'll come back to you. He goes off, he's never coming back. And he says that. Okay. So when you know that this is happening and this is how it is, the settlement, the understanding is there's nothing wrong with this person. Definitely there's nothing wrong. My job is to remove his anxiety, his anxiousness. Right. So I had to work with him in a way that, allowing him to understand that he is here to actually go through an experience. It is so boring to be in the same house doing the same thing, seeing the same tree every single day. Every day you go and, water the plant, water this, and you patterns in doing things simultaneously every single day. And then end of the day, you go to sleep, you wake up, you do the same thing again. Your experience you came here from, or whatever you're carrying. When I see a geometry of a hexahedron, there's a lot of things. It's not just carrying from this lifetime, it's also coming from a previous lifetime because of the way the hexahedron is positioned. A hexahedron can be very solidly straight and sitting down, and it could be in an angle. It also can be this way or that way. It tells a lot of things when I see something like that, right? So there's something that's bringing from your previous lifetime or whatever, that from a dimensional purpose that is bringing you into this perspective that, to be safe, to be secure, this is the best way to deal with things. All right? He doesn't want to come out because the world is saying something else and he doesn't want to accept it. So hiding himself is fantastic for him. So you don't have to hide yourself, right? So the more you're going to hide yourself, the bigger, the more hiding you've got to do. Even this space won't be enough after that. You'll be kind of going even further into it if you start hiding yourself in that space. So it was almost more about asking him to now come out and see the bigger picture. So what are the things he likes doing, what he wants to do, where he wants to go, and always understanding that, he's not the only existence in this world. There are people around him and they're placed around him for a purpose, And I was very surprised the way he found someone who's completely opposite to him. Yeah. And I asked him the question, why? Why did you find her in the first place? And he says that she's so interactive, she's so understanding, she knows a lot of things, and she's like, she finished the other half of me. Like, I can just leave certain things with her and she completes it. And I don't have to worry about it. We found a right partner who's able to now do things together in that manner. So I'm very sure there's an exchange is going to happen. That's the reason people are coming in and he's feeling anxious because he's now stepping out of his comfort zone. Right? For how many years he says that he stayed in a hostel where he doesn't come out of his room. He's always been in the room and then he walks with his head down, he doesn't even have to tell me. When I look at that, I already know this is what this person is. Yeah. But there's something that he has done within that period of time that was very much needed. He did meet other people for the purpose of having a partner because there was something that was needed in his life. For that, he's willing to move out of his comfort zone to go out and see people, see girls, so that he can find a right partner for his life. That he did. So you can see, he's so controlled, he's only going to move for a purpose that is only going to be relevant. If not, the other things are not, others are irrelevant for him. And he found the right partner, or she found him. I don't know how the story goes, but the search went on for a very long time. So by looking at it, I know that he married, he found a relationship only in a very later part of his life, not in the early part. Early part was very much on work and being in that space alone. Now, the anxiousness that he's having by walking from one corner to the other, trying to associate with people. Okay, so this is where everyone has to understand that something that you're uncomfortable, every time you go within yourself and find out, what is it that making me anxious? Am I doing something wrong here, or are they doing something wrong here? If that's not the truth, then what am I anxious about? So your thought has been sending you, this is something out of your line. This is something that we have never witnessed it. You're doing it. So there we press the right button for you. Anxiety. Okay. And then that happens. So, and then sometimes you have to really evaluate and see, why are you feeling anxious right now? Why your heart is racing? So step back and then be in that ground, being very peaceful within, saying that everything is okay. I can feel my fingers, I can feel my face. I still, I still feel that I'm feeling warm, not cold. Everything is fantastic around. I have my children, I have my wife, everything's around me. So now what is the next step? I have to go into the unknown. I'm going through a training right now, an experience that I came in to learn to interact with others. Just put that in your, whatever that makes you anxious. You can be right, you can be wrong, you can pass, you can fail, it doesn't matter. Take away the anxiety, whatever that's going to happen, I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to feel the experience because the universe has now put me in a place to experience this. I'm going to go and step in and experience. All right. Now, mind you, we're only talking about trauma. We are not talking about trauma here. We're talking about anxiety. All right. Trauma is completely a different subject. All right. So we're only talking about anxiety. And right now, I'm only talking about this individual. All right. So it might relate to someone, not to everyone. So when you start acknowledging that now I'm going to step into the space that I have always neglected, or a space that I thought was irrelevant for me and it's unknown, I didn't want to experience it, I'm going to give it a try. Just like going for swimming. Without diving in, I wouldn't know whether I can learn to swim or I can't swim. Yeah. So I'm just going to dive in, touch the unknown. If it makes me comfortable, I like the water, I can swim, I can move then I'm going to do it. If it makes me uncomfortable, I'm going to walk away from it. But can you learn swimming in one day? No, maybe you can, not for me. But, some people have just tried a few times before they get comfortable with the water and start floating and start learning the balance of it. So step out of your comfort zone. Go to the space of unknown and become known to it. Make it an experience. And sometimes when you stand back and listen to yourself, you know that what is making you uncomfortable is right in front of you. What is causing you anxiety is right in front of you. Right? Then you have to search. What is it exactly this that I'm looking for that is not working in my favor, or it's not allowing me to move forward? Yeah. So it was not a difficult part, but it's about exercising and practicing. Nothing comes without practice. You have to practice everything. Yeah. So it's the practice that you're going to do that's going to bring you forward in that space. I know there's more to share, but Daniel, you have any questions before before I'm going to just keep going?
Yeah, well, it's a lot to take in, everything you're stating, but to me, what I'm hearing is it just gives me a lot of compassion for people, because you have no idea how somebody was raised, programmed, what was normal in their world, which is, not normal in your world. Just seeing that scenario of how, he was brought up, it's like, oh, no wonder. Like they wouldn't know what to do in those situations. And I think so beautiful that, he's willing to work on that and address it. And I'd say, if you have anxiety around something, just for me, I lean into it now. Like when I get that flutter of fear or a little anxious, like that's where I know I'm supposed to be growing, right? That's where I lean into it. And instead of being fearful, I get excited because I think, okay, something new is about to open up. Like I'm about to be pushed out of the comfort zone. I'm about to grow and expand into new aspects of myself, new experiences that I've never had before. And to me, I lean into it now. Like I get comfortable with the uncomfortableness, and I go, okay, well, where's this going to take me? And I think when you can change your perspective on it, rather than most people, I think when you feel anxious, you shut it down. It doesn't feel good. It's not a comfortable feeling. But you can shift the perspective on it and go, okay, I'm not going to let it shut me down. I'm going to lean in and go, well, why am I feeling anxious? And what's the worst thing that happens if I lean into this? It's like, I used to get anxiety going into social settings. Like I like this guy. I was like, I don't know what to say. I have nothing worth saying. Like, I don't know what to talk about. I'm going to say something silly. So I would hate it. And then I got forced kind of into this situation where it was like, no, I need to get out and meet people. And then I realized, man, people are incredible. Like hearing people's stories, understanding where they come from, where they're going, what they've created in life. Like now I think it's an absolute joy to meet strangers. And had I let my anxiety rule my world, that never would have happened. But it was hard to work through. I mean, I used to literally like shake and feel like I was going to get sick when I would put myself in those situations. But it's just like my physical body having to I mean, geometrically, I don't know what was happening. I'm sure the geometry was shifting in those moments. But that's just what's been going through my mind as you've been sharing this, is like just compassion to every person because of what they've, you know, grown up with and through to make them who they are. And then understanding yourself when you see those triggers, like lean into it. I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, precisely. Fantastic. So it's good that it's fantastic you shared the experience, because that's how it is. So every individual anxiousness is different, anxiety is different. Not one individual is the same, but it's always going through that cross-section, yeah, using the path. So now I've already done with this. Now I'm going to cross and go a little bit more further, higher, to see what else have I missed in this experience. We all came here from human experience, and what are we living out? Why are we choosing not to have that and go into a certain pattern and stay in that commotion, sitting in that? When there's so much beautiful things happening elsewhere, there's so many beautiful people you can meet.
Yeah.
You know? So
I think that's the bottom line, is people have forgotten that that's the journey. Like that's the beauty of it. That's why it's here. And until, at least I've learned, like until you remember that, remember that, like life's going to keep knocking you down. Like I think about that cross. I mean, I'm looking at this as like, I'm trying to progress this way and I keep getting pulled back. It's like, okay, well, what, like that's your work in this lifetime. Like what's the circle that's pulling you back in, or what, you know, you've got to cut that so you can move forward. And I think that people have gotten so stuck in that space. And I don't know, for me, it's like, it's just the shift in perspective, and it's not scary. It's fun to push past.
And the minute, as you mentioned, the minute they are willing to cross from this end to here, the silver thread from here and here and here will do the job by bringing you to the aspect of connecting to the universal thought. And then you have more clarity. That means the experience become wider. You see, you tend to experience more about yourself now, because you are no longer in the lacking. Yeah. There's no more control or lacking. You're allowing the flow. So all this is about allowing the flow. You know, try it out. No harm. If you don't like it, don't like it. But if you do it a few times, you feel like, okay, maybe this is something I can attempt. It's like a new learning about humans, how to interact with humans, or how to go about understanding that. Yeah, and anxiety. It's also plays. This is just one scenario of anxiety. Anxiety also plays in a part where, like for example, okay, so I can give myself as an example. Yeah, sometimes I cannot stand heat, right? I can't stand heat in the sense like I'm getting better in it, but it's a lot of practice, right? Something happened to me in childhood that still holds me back when it comes to heat, like sun and heat. I get anxious. It is sunlight, and everybody says it's beautiful here. The minute the heat start penetrating in my skin, I go into an anxiousness. And when that anxiousness hits me, it's like something is really going wrong somewhere, like I'm going to collapse soon, and all these things happens, right? I had to hold myself back and step back, standing under the sun and trying to figure out, it is just sunlight. I'm not getting, it's not doing anything to me, but yet something's reacting in my body. And the understanding is that in childhood, I got a 2nd-degree burn, right? I got burned quite badly. So when I go through that process, every time when I see heat, I just don't like the heat. The heat touching me. So I said, okay, I'm going to give it a bit. I'm not going to allow myself with this sort of discomfort and go into heat for a purpose. But if there's going to be heat, right, I'm going to allow it and understand that that is not the actual trigger. It's actually my childhood trigger is coming back, making me anxious that my body's getting burned because of that heat. So you can see the subconscious mind picks up everything and records everything and throw it at the right time. They're fantastic, and they've got millions of your files set in that space. They throw the right file at the right time, And you have to understand why you're getting anxious, or why you're getting afraid, or why you're getting frustrated. You have to always step back and understand that you have the right of the way and everybody has the right of way. You're not crossing with each other, So if you try to hide or push somebody away because you're feeling anxious all the time, what you're doing, you're pushing yourself from the experience. You're never going to learn. You're stopping yourself from the learning experience. All right. So as I said, this anxiety is just based on this individual there, and most of the scenarios are based on one individual. But there's a lot of anxieties that's out there, and everything can be overcome when we analyze what is the root, where is the geometry sitting, where is your personality of the geometry is now kind of entangling or talking about it. And once we start having that communication with the geometry, we'll know what now is going to open the door for you or not fit for you. So every individual is different. Yeah. Maybe next time we can talk about huge scenarios of anxiousness comes from, trauma or whatever it is in our next podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have any questions, Danielle?
No, I think that, I mean, the silver cord is a fabulous topic. Understanding that, we'll save that for another show to dive into that, because that's where, when you get past, I think of it as the terror barrier. It's like when you're in anxiety, and a lot of people bounce back and they go back into this like holding pattern of, where they're feeling safe. But when you bust through the terror barrier, it's like that's when everything opens up. I watch it in my work. I watch it when I'm coaching people. I've watched it in my own life. And when you get through, it's like, wow. And when you talk about that silver cord, it's like, oh, all of a sudden it's because this universal connection is almost just like pulling you effortlessly into the space that you want to go. It's like you've passed the test and now it's the easy part. It all just unfolds. So I look forward to that conversation and can't wait to have it. And as always, guys, if you've got questions, comments, considerations for your scenario that you're in, we'd love to talk about it. We'd love to answer them. So make sure you put those comments below and reach out. And Nirmala, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, it's like the energy we are holding is something that we need to witness. So every time step back away from yourself and witness who you really are and what is it feeling. Look at the environment, look at the surrounding, look at the people, look at everything and find out what is now making you anxious. When you really can look at the beauty of what's around you, you won't be feeling it, right? So sometimes, as I say, anxiousness is just a duplication of something that has happened in the past or something that you've created on your own, right? So it's about understanding. Now, the silver cord and silver thread, yeah, it's a huge subject, as what Daniel said. We are doing a whole workshop on that. That's another thing that if you're interested, you have to enroll to the workshop, and maybe from there, there's a lot of things that I'll be teaching based on geometry, silver cord, and how human experience are going. And apart from that, I think on a daily basis, if you can sit on your own, those who are struggling with anxiousness or anxiety, stepping back, just plug yourself with a beautiful 432 hertz music or any meditation music that you can find. Just play it, just resonate with earth, and then create a story within yourself that you are out of this anxiousness or you are out of this fire. There's no more burning in you or whatever experience you're going through. Step out of it and create a beautiful story about you. Like, whatever story you want to be, because it's a story you're creating. It's like, watching a movie, anything can happen in a movie. So why not? You're now creating a story. Don't look into that 3D space or the earthly space. Just create a story about you. That's so beautiful. Yeah, always walk in there, hold the space, and then create this story about you. If you're in a relationship, always look at you're holding somebody's hand, walking by the beach, and then you don't have to have a face, don't have to have a height, nothing. Just feel the energy and feel it within yourself. Yeah. And then just keep creating the motion movie in the cosmic space. And the more you create it, the more understanding you will have about you, the more beautiful energy will come towards you. Just to end it, I think that's the best way to look at things and start meditating. Even if you can't meditate, as I said, listen to the music and start doing.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Well, everyone, never forget the single truth. You are more than just your thoughts, and this secret, once known, will unlock everything for you. So welcome to this community of spiritual beings, all looking to amplify their human experience. We are grateful, as always, for you tuning in. And just remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications. If you're interested in the workshop, you can go to quantumartmedicine.com and you can find the workshops there. And we would love to see you over there. Have a beautiful day, everyone.